Hey y'all, today on the channel we're going to be I'm going to show you guys how to install a Cooler Master Evo 212 on your motherboard, and also prep the motherboard for installation into the case. Hope you enjoy. Stay tuned. This is an AMD build. Since I am using the Evo, or the Evo 212 by Cooler Master, I am going to have to take off these factory tie downs or hold downs for the heat sink, which they come off pretty easy. You got 4 screws to hold them down. And just pull the screws out like so. Okay, and they pull off. Now I will keep a hold of those just in case for some reason I ever need to go back to the stock heat sink, or I gotta send in the board for an RMA or whatever. You know, I will keep them just for them cases. But it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. And if you're using the stock heat sink, guys, you guys won't have to do this. And also, the Cooler Master Evo 212 comes with its own back plate, so the back plate will have to come off the motherboard as well. Flip the motherboard over here. Line up the tongs you want. If you're using the Hpyer 212, these green spots on the metal, they should be what's touching the motherboard. And like I said, guys, like I said in the unboxing of it, if you guys ain't sure of what ports to use with the Evo 212 for your builds, make sure you look at the instruction manual, because they will tell you a good bit about what you need. You might line up the 4 holes, take your post depending on what build you're doing, run them in from the front of the motherboard. Put them up through the hole, and they are cued so the screws only go in one way. And you put your nut on it. I've gotten a habit of doing this cross-cornered. You know, to try to keep the pressure even as possible on the 4 corners. It's highly recommended. Not necessarily for this port, you don't really have to, but it's just a good habit to get into. As you can tell, guys, I am holding the motherboard by the edges, by the plastic, so I ain't too worried about static electricity, or ESD as they call it. I'm working on wooden floors. I'm working on my rubber mat, and I got a computer case that I'll touch frequently sitting beside me. Let's see if I can get that down the way and show you what I'm fiddling with. See, guys, this is why you take your time with this. I got these a little bit too tight where that 4th hole ain't lining up. Tighten up the other one, loosen up the other ones to where it line up for you, and put it up through. See, guys, even after years of using this cooler, I still have my complications with it from time to time. So if you're a brand new builder and you're doing this, you're going to run into problems. I'd set aside probably a couple hours for your first build. I've been doing this for 5 years. Once you get the screw started, just grab a hold of it by the nipple. Let me see if I can get you a better shot of that. Got it by the nipple right here. The poster sticks through. Take your little tool, put it on the back, and just give it a little twist. They don't have to be extremely tight, guys. You know, moderate to snug. You know, they don't. You know, you probably don't even really need to use a screwdriver. I do, just to give a little bit of extra security. And And again, you're watching me. I'm doing opposite corners here to try to keep the pressure even on it. That way one side don't snug down all the way before the other ones get snugged. And there's your back plate for your Evo 212 installed. That wasn't too bad, was it, guys? That was fairly easy. Not too bad. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to be putting the processor in. Like I said, this is the 8370. It's the upgrade from the 8350 that they came out with here recently. I've never used this CPU, but we're going to find out what she can do, right? Take it up out of the clamshell packaging. Grab it by the sides. AMD has all these little pins on the CPU. I don't know if you can see all them little pins or not, but you don't want to bend them. You actually want to look and make sure there's none bent, because if it's bent, it won't fit into the socket correctly. When handling the CPU, you want to handle it by the sides, by the edges, just like so. You don't want to clamp it down in the middle. You don't want to bend the pins. Try to avoid touching this top surface as much as possible. If you do touch it, it ain't the end of the world. Just take you some islo alcohol and clean it off, which is what's recommended for cleaning off thermal paste, which I guess I should have mentioned that. Okay, and as you can tell on the processor here, you got a little gold triangle right here in this one corner, and there should be a gold triangle on the corner of the motherboard. Okay, yep, I see it. You can't see from the angle I'm looking at, but it's right here in the corner. You want to match up your triangles. And if you didn't notice that little level right there at the side, you just pull it to the side and pull it up. The whole thing slides back, opens up. Like I was saying, match up your triangle here with the triangle on the motherboard up here. Softly put it in place. Give it a little wiggle if you want to make sure it's in there. It ain't gonna hurt nothing. And push it down, clip the clip down, and your CPU's installed. That wasn't too bad, was it? Now, because of the Evo 212 that I'm putting in, I'm gonna go ahead and do my RAM slots. I checked the motherboard manual, and they said to use the gray slots if you're only using 2 DIMMs. As you can see on your RAM sticks, they're a little dusty because they are used. You got a notch right here, and it ain't exactly in the middle of the DIMMs. That way they can only go in one way. Let's see if I can get the motherboard held up here for you. And also on the motherboard, on the DIMMs, there's a little notch. Right there's the notches, right there in line. You gotta make sure them notches is lined up. Get that junk out of my way. And make sure all 4 clips is back. Some boards only have 2 clips, 1 clip on each RAM DIMM. Some has 2. This one happens to have 2, 1 on each side. You line up the notch in the DIMM stick with the notch in the board. Gently push down on one side, push down on the other side. That's one RAM stick in. Second one, you do the same exact thing. Line up your notches, push one down, push the other one down. And there you go, your RAM is installed. So far we got the back plate on for the Hpyer 212. We've got that CPU installed, and we have the RAM installed. And your motherboard, believe it or not, guys, is just about finished up. Now this next part, I want to see how many guys I can piss off out there. Now we gotta put thermal paste onto the CPU. There's a lot of thumbs of practice to this. A lot of guys think their way's the only way of doing it. Some use a pea-sized drop. Some say rice-sized drop. Some says a line down the middle. Some says a line across the catty corner of it. Well, I use a little bit different from all of them. I take my tube and I put some here in the middle, about like so. Give me a piece of clean Scotch tape. How do I know it's clean? I unroll at least one whole roll before I rip off my piece to use. I rip off a piece of Scotch tape, just like so, and I spread mine out. A lot of people say you ain't supposed to spread it, let the heat spreader spread it out. You know, other people agree with me that you're supposed to spread it out. You know, guys, either way, me personally, I like to know my CPU is completely covered. Now see, with that little bit that I put on there, if I would have just put the heat spreader on it and let it spread it out, I probably wouldn't have got complete coverage over the CPU, which is what you need. I'm going to take just add just a little drop more on it, about like that. Take my tape and make sure I get complete coverage on every piece of it. I don't want to see the surface of that CPU. And you want a very thin coat. You don't want it very thick at all. And if you get too much, you roll the Scotch tape and you take off the excess. Just like so. But that's why I like to spread mine, because I don't trust the heat spreader to spread it out like it needs to be spread out evenly. And you'll see some people, they'll say, well, that causes air bubbles by doing this. By spreading it out, you cause air bubbles and this and that. Well, you know, by my testing, you know, spreading it out or using a pea-size drop, it may make 1 degree difference in your temperatures. I just like to make sure mine's fully protected. So take that with a grain of salt, guys. And if you don't believe me about the temperature differences, you know, get your own CPU, your own coolers, and try it. You know, every once in a while you got to do this on your own to figure it out. You know, you can't always depend on us YouTubers to help you out. You know, everybody's got their own ways, like I said. Now for the Evo 212, I wanted to install the RAM before I did the cooler, depending on what slots the RAM goes into and how high your RAM sticks is. Sometimes it interferes with the fan, and I'm lucky on this one, it ain't going to interfere with my fan. But still yet, I got to pull the fan off of it if I can get to the screws that's underneath the fan. And you do that just by pulling these little clips off. And you pull the fan right off, just like that. Yeah, I know my heat sink's a little bit dusty. Like I said, guys, some of these ports are used. I've had them in other systems. You set that down in there. You take your little L bracket here. You feed them through here. And sometimes it's easier to feed them through the cooler before you actually put it on the motherboard. But you know, I like making things complicated on myself. That's something to keep in mind, guys. Learn from my mistakes you see me do here on the channel. You line up your screws with the post that you put in earlier, and like you did the post, just give each one of them a little start. And yes, on this one I would highly recommend doing catty corners. That little thing in the middle, all the way down, I think it is. There we go. Well, sometimes it's easier. And here's where I say the 6-inch extension bit for your number 2 comes in handy, especially when you're using these coolers, to be able to get down into here. For these and for motherboards, these 6-inch extension bits is a lifesaver. You can pick them up. I think I got mine from Walmart for $4, I think, or something like that. Just about any place that sells magnetic screwdrivers will sell them. And so since you got them started, just give them, go cross train them, cross it, give it a couple turns, cross it, couple turns, cross it, couple turns. And the main thing is, guys, you want to try to, when you're using these kind of coolers, you want to try to give them even pressure on all four corners. You don't want all the pressure on one side. You don't want it leaning. You know, you want that pressure pretty steady all the way across the CPU. That's what's going to help transfer that heat. Twist it down some more. Some guys say these guys will stop when they hit their tightness they're supposed to be. I don't trust that. I kind of go by the looks and by the feel of it. And you'll notice with these coolers, with these Hpyer 212s, usually when they're tightened down, the cooler itself will still have a little bit of movement to them, a little bit of jiggle. That's fine, that's normal. Alright, there we go. Yeah, so it's still got a little bit of a wiggle to it, which that's fine, that's normal. There's your Hpyer 212 installed. The only thing left is to do the fan. Let me spin this around here so you can see this. Well, yeah, maybe like this to start out. Sorry guys, I'm blowing some of the dust out of it. You need to see where your CPU fan plugs in at, which on this motherboard is right here in this little white slot right there. That's where your CPU fan. Anytime possible, you want your fan to be in a push configuration, which means it's going to be blowing the air from your RAM back towards the back part of the case. Your fan. I do have a little bit of a clearance issue though with my RAM. I figured it was going to clear smoothly, but it ain't. Which, if the fan sticks up a little bit past the cooler, guys, it ain't that big of a deal. Like I said, it's pretty negligible. Sometimes you can actually get them to slide down in once you get them on. Well, that didn't slide too well. It's spinning my fins. Let's see if we can get down in there the way it's supposed to be, guys. I like to do stuff the way it's supposed to be done. Alright guys, well, to fix this problem, we'll take this dim stick out because it's in my way. And we'll put the fan on. And then we'll put the dim stick back in. See, I put my fins trying to push it down in there. And that ain't good. The more you bend them fins, the closer they are, the less air is going to be flowing through them. So you want to fix that. And it just clips in on the sides. It just clips back there into the groove on both sides. Make sure it's good and secured back in there. And if my measurements was right, you should be able to install this dim stick right back down into the slot. Yep, there it is. So it does fit on this motherboard without no problem. Now back to the cooler, or the fan plug in here. It's white. Some of these is white, some of them's black, some of them's 3-pin, some of them's 4-pin. Sometimes you'll have a 3 or 4-pin adapter for the fan. It don't really matter. There's only one way they'll go in because it's notched. I don't know if you can see that notch on it or not. There's a notch on the fan connector itself right here. They only go in one way. You take it, yeah, clip it down under. Sometimes they clip, sometimes they don't. But you can almost lift your motherboard up and they don't come off, so it's no good. And now since it's like that, and it's easy to get to, I'm going to go ahead and wire tire that wire up. And just kind of fold it up. Like I say, this one's already been wired once, so my cable's kind of already trained this way. And you take a zip tie. Yeah, I know guys, this is a pretty short cord. I could probably get away with one zip tie, but I'm gonna put 2 on it. I'm just a stickler, I guess, but I like to make sure my wires ain't coming apart, because I don't want that wire to come apart and get up in that fan or any other fan or interfere with anything else within the system. So I want to make sure that fan, that the cable is good and tight, and I get all the slack that I can out of it. Nah, sorry about the sniffles, guys. I'm fighting a head cold right now, so, and I've been fighting it for several months, and I just can't seem to get rid of it. There we go. 2 cable ties. I know that cable's going to stay put. I know it ain't going to get in the way. And once you install your motherboard, you'll probably never hardly get to, you probably won't even see that cable. And if it bugs you, you know, you can kind of shove it back underneath the edge a little bit if you want. But yeah, guys, pretty well. That's the motherboard prepped and ready to go into the case. Alright guys, that's how easy it is to prep a motherboard and install Evo 212. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, guys. It helps us a lot. Until next time, be safe, and I'll see you in the next video.